when I started preparing for this talk, I did not find much content when you talk about constipation in pregnancy. And the content which is there, most of the content was unscientific, based on personal experiences. There were no large trials. So then I thought I would like to introduce you to constipation in general, and then we can extrapolate or apply it on our pregnant patients. So my talk is very simple, and you are most welcome to reject me, reject the ideas which I'm about to say, or ask me any silly questions. but please, if I am not able to express myself, or there is some lack of communication, please indicate immediately, right? I will clarify. So let us know how stool forms, how constipation begins, how to define constipation, and how pregnancy, state of pregnancy affects the state of constipation. How do we diagnose and how do we manage? Very simple steps, and in these steps we will learn uh, all this physiology. Please remember, apart from what we eat, what we drink, we produce at least 7 liters of intestinal secretions every day in our intestines. But we hardly produce not more than 200 milligrams of feces. So obviously, this 7 liter is going to be absorbed somewhere down the intestine. So apart from intestinal absorption or reabsorption, secretion, there is something called motility. Our intestines move similarly like a snake moves, right? And this is called peristalsis, and there are many mediators, hormonal mediators and neural mediators, which affect the motility of our intestines. And one of them is serotonin, okay? So what we have learned, we apart from diet, we produce 7 liters, produce only 200 grams, and we have peristalsis. So this is peristalsis, and this is unidirectional, okay? It goes from mouth towards rectum, and there are two types of bowel movements. One is, terturating, which mix the food and enzymes, and another is high amplitude propagating contraction, which occur once in 3 times an hour, or 3 times a day. Sorry, not hour, 3 times a day. So these are very important high amplitude propagating contractions, which can be inhibited in various states. For example, when we wake up, the mind says go to toilet. The moment mind says go to toilet, there is generation of some neurotransmitters which produce high amplitude propagative contraction. And if you are in the right position, you are on toilet seat, these contractions will occur vigorously and you pass the fecal matter, okay? So now this is, you all know about this, nothing new, that in resting state there is a muscle called puborectalis, which is keeping this the rectum in inhibited or contracted state, and when we sit on the toilet and we have HPACs, then this muscle relaxes and the stool is allowed to pass. You have sensation of passing the stool when the stool has come to lie in the rectum. If stool is in upper transverse colon, descending colon, you don't have the sensation. So why constipation occurs? Okay, lack of fluids. If you don't drink enough, the stool is likely to become dry, right? Decreased movements. If we are not exercising, I mean, that's the commonest explanation. We are obese, or we are bedridden because of something else, neurological disorders, strokes. And of course, pregnancy is also something where your mother-in-law will say, take rest, complete rest. And there can be like threatened abortions, etc. Probably you also advise complete bed rest. So that adds to constipation. because with decreased body movement, there is decreased movement of the intestine. This is proven. And then there is outlet obstruction. Outlet obstruction means some obstruction at the level of rectum and anal canal. For example, there is a pregnant patient who has large hemorrhoids, and she finds it very painful to pass motion. So what happens? She doesn't pass. She doesn't even make an effort to pass motions. So this ultimately leads to severe constipation. But there are other reasons for outlet obstruction in general, but we are not going into details. Now, this is also something very important. If you read guidelines, I try to search actually guidelines for constipation in pregnancy in obstetrics association also, but I did not find much material on it. So similarly, in gastroenterology guidelines, there is not much given as far as pregnancy is concerned. But we define constipation as per Western guidelines, and this is absolutely absurd. The constipation can be defined if you don't go to bathroom less than if you go to bathroom less than 3 times a week, this is criteria for West. And if you have to make excessive efforts, you spend hours in the toilet, you have to use finger evacuation, etc., etc. All this is constipation. Okay, so what we are talking as in comparison to West is absolutely different. In our society, if I don't have a motion once a day, I am constipated. So the definitions differ, and therefore we probably, I think I urge this society, which is doing so well. I saw your lecture and your programs to make your own guidelines by promoting certain research activities, especially constipation. So the constipation can be defined based on symptoms and sometimes based on frequency of bowel movement, and the perception changes. If you ask the patient, it is different. If you ask the physician, it is different.